𝐇𝐚𝐫𝐥𝐞𝐲, welcome please. Welcome and have a seat. My name is Nelson Makanda, and I'm the chair of this selection panel. Allow me to congratulate you for being shortlisted. Thank you for showing interest in the advertised position of commission, member of the commission, IBC commission, and just for taking time to come and have this session with us. I would like to invite you into this discussion, but before then, allow me to introduce my colleagues here. We'll start with Evans here. Evans, please.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Evans Misati. I'm a member of the selection panel. Karibu sana.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Misati.
Good afternoon, Dr. Mutisia.
Good afternoon.
And
Dr.
welcome. My name is 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐲𝐚, and I'm a member of the selection panel.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, Dr. 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐲𝐚.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mutisia.
Good afternoon.
My name is Fatuma Ali Saman, and I'm a member of the panel. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Saman.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My name is Nicodemus Bore. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Nashukuru.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Professor.
My name is Adam Solo. I'm a member of this selection panel.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Dr. Mutisia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Caroline Kituko, a member of this panel.
My pleasure, Madam Kituko.
Dr. 𝐶𝐚𝐫𝐥𝐞𝐲, habari ya dhuhuri.
Niko salama sana.
Naitwa Bwana Andrew Tanui, mwanachama wa chopo hili la uteuzi, na karibu.
Asante, nashukuru.
So take some time, 5 minutes, to introduce yourself to us. Let us know who you are, where you have come from in terms of your profile, and how that profile is suitable for the position you have applied for. If you have any honors you have received, mention them to us, and if you're a member of any professional group. Welcome, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, members. First, I would like to thank you for having shortlisted me for this interview, for this position of a member of IBC. I don't take that for granted. My name is Dr. Hali Mutisia. I come from 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐻 West, 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐻 East, sorry, and I am holder of a PhD in business administration, and my thesis was on governance and service delivery. I also hold a master's in business administration from University of Nairobi. I also hold a Bachelor of Commerce, first class honors from University of Nairobi. I am a member of Kenya Institute of Supplies Management in good standing. I have worked, I'm a practitioner in supplies management, so much extensive experience. I am also a certified procurement and supplies practitioner of Kenya, CPSP-K, the first cohort in the country. I also I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. I'm an associate of the Chartered Institute of Arbitration, among others. Chair, I bring to you an extensive experience in electoral matters, having been the Director, Supply Chain Management at the IBC. I managed the procurement in the 2022 elections, also managed the logistics. I was also the coordinator at the National tallying center during the elections, and therefore, Chair and members.
Which elections?
2022 general elections. I was the coordinator of the National Tallying Center. So I bring that experience to you, and therefore, thank you for inviting me to introduce myself.
Thank you very much. I want to ask Caroline to ask you some questions. Carol, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Dr. Mutiso, I'll just pick it up from where you stopped. You indicated to us that you were the coordinator of the National Tallying Center. So the report of NADCO has made various recommendations for the amendments to the Constitution to enhance the mandate of the IBC. Can you explain to us some of the proposals for amendment of the Constitution that would have a bearing on the mandate of the IBC?
Thank you very much, Madam Kituku, for the question. According to the existing mandate in terms of running of the election, in terms of the registration of voters, in terms of running a referenda. Now, in terms of the recommendations that were made by NADCO, and I will just bring about just a few of them. And one was in terms of the expansion of the selection committee, because the issue was the inclusion to ensure that the country is well, there is inclusion to everyone. Now, the other issue was in terms of how is the election process then managed. And the election process, when you look at it from the pre, during, and after those processes, then you discover that there are issues pre-election that you have to deal with stakeholder engagement, which is very key. Engagement with the political parties to improve on the area of trust by Kenyans to the institution. Also ensuring that during the election there are issues to do with, as the pronouncement of the Supreme Court, in terms of the governance. How do we deal with the issues of governance during the time of election? And then post the election, exactly how do we deal with the issues of the recommendations that are then given by the stakeholders? Thank you for the question.
Were there any recommendations that were made in terms of the budgetary independence of the IBC? What were they, if you recall any?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Kituku, for that. Also, it was recommended that the IBC then be given a fund, and this fund then would be able then to enhance that independence of the commission, because majority of the times you discover all the way 2013, 2017, 2022, the budget many a times comes late. And when this budget is disbursed late, it has an effect on the procurement of the materials and even the other activities that then come with the election. So when the fund then is given, then IBC will be disbursed of the funds, and then they will be able to expend from that fund. And that recommendation, is a good one.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mutise. I wish you well. Over to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, FCS 𝐶𝐚𝐫𝐥𝐞𝐲 to ask some questions, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. Dr. Mutisia, your area of expertise is procurement. You have been working at IEBC for how long?
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸. I served my 5-year contract from 2019 to 2024.
You are not at IEBC now?
No, I'm not at IEBC right now.
Okay.
Yes.
When you are there at IEBC, I want to ask you to share in terms of your experience. There has been every election report, observer's report, is always saying that there is a problem with procurement and how expensive procurement of goods and services at IEBC is, and therefore it's an issue of concern. And I want you to tell the panel three areas that make procurement of IEBC so astronomical. 3 areas, procurement of 3 things or 3 areas. Just list the 3. Then I will ask you another question.
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, for that. One area is electrotechnology. The second area is the area of ballot paper. And the third area then becomes the operations itself in terms of the labor cost.
If you are successful, how are you going to address these astronomical costs of procuring electrotechnology, procuring ballot papers, and procuring labor, and specify which areas we can actually dispense with to reduce the cost for each of the 3 areas?
Thank you very much, Dr. 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸, on that. When I joined the commission in 2019, the first thing I did was to study the historical issues, exactly where the cost was high and the reasons why these costs were high. And immediately after that, I embarked on writing specific manuals that in the preceding election helped to deal with the procedures and also deal with the areas of compliance. Now, to answer the questions then directly, is that in the manuals, I specifically wrote the recommendations which were approved by the management and were approved by the commissioners, including the chairman, to include the area of all the specifications for strategic materials must at any one given time be approved by the commissioners, so that the commissioners also have the stakeholder engagement with the other stakeholders, the political parties and everyone. Now, when I come to the area of the ballot paper, for instance, it has like 7 security features. Probably you do not need all those security features. 3 security features would still suffice an election. And therefore, if you reduce, and the printers have told us several times, if you reduce on the number of security features, the cost would come down drastically. And that is one area that I would be going for immediately. The second part of it is when you look at the electoral technology, looking at what the cost was in 2017 and what the cost was in 2022, there was a drastic reduction in terms of cost. What exactly did we do? We started the procurement early enough and also made sure that we did what you call now the frameworks. The framework means you only buy what you need when you need it, so that then again you do not just buy a bulk, keep it there when you do not need those quantities. So that is one other area of reducing on the technology cost. In terms of the labor, it is the issue of education, voter education, and also educating those people internally. But then what happens is why the labor cost is quite high is because of the legislation. The number of candidates that are supposed to avail themselves in a polling station. Because they are capped at 700, really there is nothing much that can be done. But if we do the voter education well, and also do our voting in polling centers, although now that will also reduce in terms of the accessibility, but that will also reduce the labor cost. Thank you, Dr. Kogi.
Sorry, did you say 700 candidates in a polling station?
Yes, every
Candidates.
Voters.
Oh, okay.
Voters for the polling.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Mutisia, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. FCPA, please, would you like to ask some questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You didn't want to renew your contract at IBC?
Thank you, FCPA. Tanui. Now, the HR manual stipulates that you have a 5-year contract, renewable once. My recommendations were made for my renewal, but my renewal could only be made by a chairperson who was not present by the time of the expiry of my contract.
You became a victim of the
Yes.
Vacancies that we are trying to fill now.
Thank you.
Because there were no commissioners.
Exactly, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry for that. So now, I want to follow up from the 700 candidates, which you've said for 700 voters. Huh?
Yes.
How does this, because you're talking about the 700 voters in a polling station, how does this inflate the cost of elections?
Thank you for that question. How that inflates the cost is because at that point you will need a presiding officer and a deputy presiding officer. You need 4 clerks, in that polling station. So in total, for each polling station, you have about 7 clerks. And now if you multiply that by 46,229 polling stations, you discover that that comes quite high. Now, if you happen to increase either the number, then you see you are also then proportionally reducing the cost per voter. If you increase the number to 1,000 or to something, that will also then be reducing the proportion. Or if in the urban centers, then you decide that you're going to have polling centers where you can have so many polling stations within one center, then what happens is that you will reduce on the number of the queuing clerks, because again also the queuing clerks have to be there to show everyone where they would be going. So that is
what was the reason to cap it at 700? There must have been a reason for that. Why was the number capped at 700?
Thank you, FCPA, for that. Situations change. So when you look at in 2013, the population and also the registered voters by that time were 13 million. Then come to 2017, now we have 19.6 million. You see now it's increasing. So now again, when it increases, you have to think drastically what measures you're going to take to reduce that cost. Now as we went to 2022, the number then was 22.3 million. So at that point, an increase between 2013 and 2022 of 10 million voters, it means then there has to be a way of resolving.
But there was a reason. I'm asking, what was the reason of capping? Why cap at 700?
Mainly one thing that was being looked at was queue management.
Yes.
So if it's queue management, if it is between 6.
So queue management, any other?
Yes, that was one. 2, it was to deal with the population by that time. It wasn't as demanding as it is right now. Yes.
But is there a benefit of, because at the end of the day, we want the elections that are efficient,
Yes.
that we would want our results to be announced on a timely basis.
Yes.
So by you proposing that we may need to relook into the numbers, would that affect the efficiency of our elections?
No, because when you look at the presiding officers and the returning officers right now, they have come of age. You know, there is that learning curve. At the very beginning, you know, you will find that managing 700 between 6 a.m. and 5 p.m. would have been a challenge. But right now, with you know, they've really come of age in terms of the experience of managing the queues much faster and much better.
So if given an opportunity, and we are going into the 2027 elections, and you did inform us that the cost of 2022 compared to 2017, there were a drastic reduction. So what is it that you would propose to still go with the same trend of reduction come 2027, cost reduction come 2027?
Thank you, FCPA. One area that I would be going for to really solve that problem of the cost would be the engagement with stakeholders, then stakeholders being the political parties, to agree in terms of, do we still want to stick to 7 you know, security features on a ballot paper?
Which that one you had said,
yeah.
Another thing?
Another thing then that we would be looking at in terms of the reduction of the cost. Now, this is internal. We've already set the pace of understanding that the Commission needs to start procurement in good time. By now, we are already even almost late. So as we get to 2025, 2026 financial year, the procurements need to start so that now...
Now, on that particular one,
yes,
there is a provision in the Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act.
Yes.
And given that you are an expert in that field and you're also a trainer,
yes,
that you cannot procure when you don't have funds.
yes.
So how do you start early procurement when you've not been allocated budget? And there is this habit of Treasury giving you budget during the election year. So how will you start early procurement?
Thank you very much for that question, FCPA. Now, the procurement is a product of the budgeting process. And in the work plans, you will discover that majority of those items that are for election or, you know, for election would be given a budget, however small it would be. Now, for a framework contract, it do not require necessarily the whole budget. What you need is a commitment to start the process. Number 2, what again you would need is you know, multi-year procurement procedures and procurement plans for multi-year, targeting the fact that in 2026, 2027, there will be the full budget. So for those contracts and those projects, you know that the budget will come later, but now there's a provision, however small, there is allowance in the law to start the procurement under the multi-year procurement plans.
Thank you. I wish you well. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, FCPA. I want to ask Ms. Sati to ask you some questions.
Thanks so much, Chair. Mutisia?
Yes, Bwana Misati.
I didn't know you had left IPC.
Oh, yes, I did.
Now, there are many factors that contribute to the voter apathy. I want you to demonstrate to this panel the role that the members of parliament and the devolved units, particularly the funds, the CDF funds, county governments, how do they contribute to voter apathy?
Thank you, Bwana Misati, for that question. Yes, you're very right that at times when you talk about voter apathy in the country, we're not necessarily directing it to IBC. There are so many other external factors that even make the public and members of the public to have that voter apathy. One is when there is a perception, because sometimes it's not the reality, sometimes it's a perception that there has been the misuse of public funds and all that. So they feel like their representation does not really meet their needs. And sometimes they say, then if this is the case, I may not need necessarily to vote next time. And therefore that brings about the issue. Now, there's so many other issues beyond just the issues you mentioned about NGCDF and all that. There's so many other externalities that affect the voter, because at times also you find the distance where they're supposed to register is quite long, and they find that probably the county government or the commission itself has not done the facilitation to bring the voter registration closer to them. And finally also you find that the voter education itself does not really sink so deep into the voter to understand their essence in making a change in the country.
From where you stand, if a politician is facilitating the voters to do voter registration, can that be looked at like an election offense or voter irregularity? Because in situations we find genuine cases where you find maybe students who are in universities and they cannot afford even a transport to go to a registration center. So if you become a commissioner, what will you do to address some of those challenges? And is it a problem if anybody facilitates them to do voter registration? Because it has happened before.
Yes, a good question, Mr. Misati. I'm a stickler of the rule of law and the provisions of the law, and therefore when the Constitution of Kenya mandates IBC to be the only sole institution that is mandated to do voter registration, that should actually be respected. Should there be any member of the public, be it a member of parliament or whichever position, and they would really feel like there is an area or there is a group that is left out and is not yet been registered, it is upon them to really reach out to the commission and say, we would like you to assist us through there are so many officers in the field. We have dispersed 290. Let me not say we, because now I don't work there. But the commission has actually devolved that function to 290 constituencies. There is always an officer at reach at the constituency level who can be easily be reached and be told that I'll be having a baraza here. Please come and do, the registration. So I would look at it that way, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Chair, and I wish you well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Misati. Right.
Thank you. I want to invite Fatuma Saman to also ask you some questions. Fatuma, please.
Mr. Mutisia.
Yes, Madam Saman.
Kenya is now already halfway, the electoral cycle.
Yes.
So if given a chance, what are some of the things you'll focus on as priority?
Thank you very much, Madam Saman. Now, first things first, I am already aware that there are some vacant electoral positions at the moment, some for MCA, others for Member of National Assembly, and one for senator that need to be filled in for the purpose of representation, because those people, the citizens in those areas deserve to be represented. That is one area of priority that then I would be championing for. Number two, I would also then deal with the areas of ensuring that the procedures and the policies that I had proposed earlier, that they are implemented to the full, to ensure that areas of specifications are dealt with immediately, because that is one area that when it comes to the real procurement is it must be tackled quite well. I would also then be dealing with the area of staffing, because staffing now has become an area concern because of natural attrition over time. People have left the commission, and they need to be a replacement so that training of those staff can be done in good time. Those are my areas of priority as we start the commission.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I invite 𝐷𝐚𝐫𝐥𝐞𝐲 Bore to ask you some questions.
Thank you very much, Tricia. It's good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Anna.
You participated in the post-election evaluation report.
Yes, I did.
There were some of the risks that you guys mentioned in your post-election evaluation report. That includes both internal and external risks. And as you're aware, being a member of the procurement committee or the director of procurement committee, there are also risks involved during procurement. So what are some of the risks? And given a chance to be a member of IEBC Commission, what recommendations will you make towards addressing these cases?
Thank you very much, Ibana Bore. Looking through the risks, because there are some which are so imminent, internal risks and then the external risks. As I look internally, when it comes to the staffs, especially those who are involved directly with the elections, are so exposed to some of the risks we have witnessed, even assault, and therefore there needs to have the issue of protection, security that is beefed up for these members of staff, because that risk can also then, it has in the past led to death, and therefore we need to look at it as a risk we need to arrest. Number two, when it comes to the areas of the procurement, and that is also another risk environment, you need to look at it from the fact that the procurement process in itself is highly legislated. Every position, every level of that procurement process is legislated. And therefore, what are some of the risks? Some of the risks would come out from non-compliance of the law. And when it comes to non-compliance, then there is it affects even the general election itself. Another risk comes with interference. And this interference, you can never anticipate and know exactly where then it is going to come from. Another risk is also the legal risks, because in the middle of the process, then a complainant comes, takes you to the review board and says that now you need to have this determined, and yet you are running against time. So that again is another area. And that's why I said now when it comes to the area of the specifications, when it comes to the issue of the compliance, I would really ensure that the manuals that we have come up with are complied with. but then you cannot then know who is then going to come in from the public to take you to the review board. However, if you are now then following the law properly, then the risk can be mitigated. The other risk then is the reputational risk that comes with the whole process, and it can easily damage the organization. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir, and all the best.
Thank you very much, Anabora.
Okay, Professor, would you like to ask some questions?
Thank you, Chair. 𝐸𝐬𝐬𝐲, you have been in IEBC, and I'm sure you are also aware that there has been a trust deficit in IEBC that you have been a part of. And part of the trust deficit has been in election results. That every other election, presidential, has faced a petition, with one being nullified, some being endorsed but with qualification of what needs to be done. Having been an insider, if you were to be made commissioner, what would you do to ensure that Kenyans, at least a section of it, that usually say no to the results, trust the election results by IEBC?
Thank you very much, Professor, for that question. The trust deficit, however historical, but it has its own foundation. And part of the foundation for the mistrust is because of sometimes when there is lack of feasibility within the processes. If you look at each of the processes before the election, the processes themselves have to be as feasible as possible. Let's take an example in the voter registration itself as one pre-election exercise. And this exercise has to be done in as much transparent, more open way, so that at the end of the day, when we do the voter register audit, we are able to find are there any issues, or is the voter register then as clean as it's supposed to be? So pre-election, all the processes have to be, very, very visible to the public, so that they can trust the process. Now, during the election, again, at the polling station, the exercise itself must be also as visible as possible, so that it is known the results that have come from polling station A is the one that is in the portal when it comes to the transmission of the results. Once that process is as visible as possible, then the trust deficit will go down.
You've just said in answer to my colleague Bori that you are part of the post-election evaluation report.
Yes.
You're also aware that KPMG did do an audit of the register,
yes,
and did find that there were so many ineligible dead voters and so on the register.
Yes.
You're aware that nothing was done about it.
Now, thank you very much, Professor.
No, I haven't finished. You are
Okay.
aware that nothing was done after that audit report. In other words, Adam Solo is dead. The IFC didn't go and remove Adam Solo from that register. after the audit. You're aware of that? If you're not aware, just say you're not
No,
aware.
I'm not aware of that.
Did the post-election audit address that much of the KPMG audit and its findings and the omissions?
Yes, it was addressed.
How so?
Thank you, Professor, for that. Part of the findings were the transfers that were done for voters from, their polling stations to other stations. And before the elections were done, then all that was reversed, and the KPMG confirmed to that effect.
What about the dead voters in the register?
Now, that in itself, I would want to address it in this way, that it is one area that requires, and this is one solution then we'll be bringing on board, working closer with the registrar of births and deaths to ensure that every other, because that challenge does not necessarily come from IBC, comes from all the way from other authorities and other institutions. Then now, this is updated on a regular basis, that whenever there's a certificate of death that has been issued, it should be notified immediately to IBC. Two, that today, like we have connection, you can connect through the Business Registration Bureau and all that. Then the registrar of birth and death should also be digitized, so that then again it brings the online, the real time upload, updating. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Chair.
Prof, do you still want to ask some 2 questions?
Sure. Daktari,
Yes, Professor.
you want to be a commissioner.
Yes, Professor.
As a commissioner, what is the threshold that you and your team would use to declare a winner in a presidential election? In other words, what must they attain to be declared winners of the presidential election?
Thank you very much, Professor, for the question. The constitutional requirement is that the winner must get a majority of the counties. So the counties are 47. To get a majority, at least the winning candidate must get 24 and above of the counties. And then after that, the votes that are cast, the winner must get 50% of the votes that have been cast plus 1 vote. And there, that
Thank
one.
you.
Thank you.
Within what timelines is the Speaker of the National Assembly required to notify the IEBC of a vacancy?
The Speaker of the National Assembly is required by law to notify the IBC of any vacancy within 14 days.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Bwana Mutisia,
Yes, Chair.
it's just a supplementary question, just in case the commission comes and they find that the things to do is to confirm or appoint those officers who needed to have been appointed and they were not appointed, and your name is one of them. What happens?
Chair, thank you very much. It's a good prayer that at least I stand a chance to be reconfirmed when the new commissioners come in. It's my prayer too that I will be one of the commissioners. So at that point, it's a question of now looking for the suitable candidate now to replace me.
But will you be willing to continue in your former position?
Chair, the one reason why I applied for this position is that I believe I need to bring change to this country. I've brought change over the last 5 years in the electoral system, and I am comfortable with being a member of the commission and not going back to my former position.
Okay. What procurement mistakes did you do in your former engagement, if any?
Thank you, Chair, for that question. I would present myself here with all the honesty, and really, I do not want to say that there are no mistakes, but any kind of issues that were brought up and were taken to the review board or to the courts, I want to confirm to this panel that during my tenure, I did not lose any of those cases at the appeals board or even at the courts. I do not want to claim perfection, but yes, that is the one position that I found myself in, Chair.
Thank you. Do you have any question for us or comment?
Thank you very much, Chair. I am very grateful. I know I was supposed to be here at 2:30, but I have seen that you are very accommodative. You allowed me to come in a bit earlier. That to me, I'm very, very grateful to the panel. Number two is that this was a discussion, and therefore out there, someone could pick a lesson or two out of this discussion. And therefore, again, I also don't take it for granted that we have educated a Kenyan or two on electoral matters, Chair.
Thank you very much. It's been a good time interacting with you, learning from your experience at IBC and other places you have worked, and we want to wish you well. Your certificates will be passed over to you. You have a notebook and a pen, and there's a bottle of water there. Feel free, and you're welcome to lunch.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. Yeah. I appreciate your time.
Blessings to you. Thank you. Asante. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.